And with just over a year until the 2024 presidential election, let's get more perspective on where things stand. Joining us now, NewsNation contributor Sean Spicer, also a former White House press secretary. Sean, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So let's start with former Vice President Mike Pence. We saw a much feistier version of him at the first debate, I would argue. He was one of only 3 Republican candidates to see a boost in the polls following that event. So, Sean, what does he need to do tonight, do you think, to secure another potential spike in the polls?
Well, first, let's keep in mind 2 things. The spike in the polls has been national. He needs to do well in Iowa. And tonight, if I were him, I would focus solely on talking to Iowa. Obviously, the NewsNation audience is nationwide and global. But if I were Pence, I would focus every single answer on Iowa, because if he doesn't do well there, I don't see how the campaign continues. So his messages and his thoughts, Iowa has a huge evangelical community. I would focus my thoughts and my comments and the policies on that community there. It takes about 50,000 plus folks to win Iowa. If he can come in a strong second and prove that he's the guy to take on Trump ultimately, then that's almost as good as a win.
So what do you expect to be the biggest issues voters dig in on tonight?
Yeah, tonight's going to be really interesting because I think Pence has this conundrum where he's trying to talk about how great the Trump-Pence administration was. Notice the first word in that phrase, Trump-Pence. And yet he's now saying we need to move away from it, and I'm the guy to move away from it. I can lead this movement. At the same time, as Kelly just noted in that package, you know, he's also kind of whacking populism and talking against what basically drives the MAGA movement. So I think he's really trying to thread a needle here that's, to be honest, not the easiest one to do, because he's trying to figure out where's that lane between hugging Donald Trump and taking credit for some of these policies and then finding enough space to say, but I'm not him.
Yeah, it's a tightrope act. So in a NewsNation Decision Desk HQ poll earlier this month, concerns about inflation remain extremely high. More than 90% of respondents say they are somewhat or very concerned about this. So what are his tactics for addressing the economy, gas prices, and, of course, rising inflation?
Well, he picked the right day to do it. We saw inflation tick up today from 3.2 to 3.7%. So you can actually talk about how the Biden plan, Bidenomics, is not working, and how when the Trump-Pence administration left office, it was at 2%. So he actually has a good story to tell on this. And if I were him, I would use the news of today to really hone in and, again, make it pitch to Iowa, talk about what Iowans are feeling every day. While we have a national audience, bring it home to them about the pain that they're feeling. And look, while it may be 3.7% overall, there's a lot of specific areas within the economy where it's not 3.7%. There's so many of the things that it's baked into now in terms of our budget. Interest rates continue to rise as well, which, because of credit cards and adjustable mortgages, is having a real impact on the bottom line for so many Americans. And I think that there's such a great record from 4 years that if I were Mike Pence, I would really hone in on combining the news of today and the pain that people are feeling with the success of 4 years.
Understood. So we've got about 40 seconds left, but quickly before you go, Republicans have begun a formal impeachment inquiry into President Biden, as you know. What are your thoughts on this, Sean? And can you explain to us what's ahead now?
Well, they're going to start the inquiry, right? The idea is to try to build a bigger case before you make it formal. I would just argue that, look, you better have the American people on board on this. There are huge political consequences if you screw it up. Most Americans, including most of his own party, are concerned about Joe Biden moving forward. We cannot give them a reason on the Republican side to rally around an attack on him that takes the focus off of his policies and his age and ability to do the job. And also potentially cost us the majority. So I would say this, tread lightly.
All right. Sean Spicer, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.